Evening, everybody. Another wonderful day here in the shop. Been a while since I've done a project out here in the shop. Most of the summertime I have spent outside. As you can see behind me here, my shop is uninsulated and it's not air conditioned, and it gets a little miserable here in the summertime. But the weather is cooperating now. We just set our clocks back. It's time to get back in the shop in the evenings instead of out messing around on tractors and skid steers, messing around with goats and whatnot. So today I'm going to work on a project using one of these right here. That is an Arduino Nano. A YouTube friend of mine, Feddie over at Got It Made, used to be Redneck DIY. He also owns Bristol Artisan Company in Bristol, Tennessee. He made a project a couple of weeks ago, and I'll link that up here somewhere, with a faux neon sign. And I watched that, and he did great work on it. Did some artificial metal rusting paint stuff. It was awesome. But anyway, I reached out to him and I said, Feddie, man, you need to mud flap that up a little bit and get some flashing going on there. And he said, man, I was just thinking about that. He said, you got anything in mind? I said, well, yeah. So I pulled up a quick internet search, found a couple sequential flashers, sent those to him, and he was like, yeah, that's not really what I'm looking for. That's too fast or too slow, or there just wasn't a good off-the-shelf solution to that. I said, Feddie, so I can make you something up in just a matter of minutes and get you going. Let me make a flasher for you that you can put on your sign, and we'll call it a Veterans Day present. Feddie and I are both veterans of the U.S. military. He of the Marine Corps, and me of the Air Force, and we've made that bond. And it's my honor to help him out, and hopefully he can use this in his project. He really wants to learn Arduino, and I'm willing to help him out with that. But I'm going to try to get him started with this sequential flasher. And I think once he sees what we can do with this, he's going to be sold. So here we go. So for these next couple of clips, I mocked up a flashing circuit with the Arduino, a couple of resistors, a couple of LEDs, and a power supply. This is entirely based off of the Blink sketch, which is included with the Arduino IDE. And I just went in and would change some of the timings or some of the sequences. I'd text him these little short videos and say, hey, what do you think about this? And he'd say, it's too fast, too slow. Can you do this? Can you make them light one at a time? Can you make them all stay on? Can you make them flash? Can you make them double flash at the end? And we just kind of played around with it, and I got some ideas of what he was looking for. A couple of parts that I have here. We do have the Arduino. This is a Nano. Those are a couple bucks online. I think I bought a pack of 5 or 10 of these for under 20 bucks. This is a screw shield for the same. What will end up happening is this Nano fits right down in there, and then that gives you screw terminals, so you're not having to solder onto your Nano. Then I have a small prototype board. This is actually going to be too big. I'll probably end up cutting this. Now I've got 3 quarter-watt resistors. These happen to be 1K ohm resistors, and then I've got 3 2N, 2-2, 2-2 switching small signal transistors. These are NPN transistors. Those are common off the shelf. Get them in a bag of 25 for $3 on Amazon. I've also got a small soldering iron that we use to make up our prototype board, and I've got a little bit of 20 gauge. This is solid hookup wire. You could use stranded. That wouldn't hurt a thing. So we're going to get going with this. I'll show you some schematics of the plans that I have laid out. All right, so I went in and drew up a schematic for the circuit that I'm going to use. And you can see here, this is a voltage source. Of course, that could be a battery, it could be a wall wart, which I think is what Fred is using in his. we have a Arduino. I'm using Arduino Nano, but any of the Arduinos would work. I have that 12 volts coming into the voltage in. Of course, the Arduinos can handle 12 volts, and they have a voltage regulator that drops that down to 5 volts, which is what it operates off of. We have the ground or the 12 volt negative here. I do, on the schematic, I did draw up a switch going between ground and 12, and that what that does is that allows us to do have some different options for some different sequences. 3 connections, one for each of the arrows that you see. The plan, if you look back at the picture of the sign he made, was to flash the 3 arrows on the bottom. And this is a typical low side driver. I'm not going to get too far in depth into that. I did make a pretty lengthy video back in my collection on the shop built clock, where I went in how to program the Arduino, write the code and all that for this to operate. But basically, you go high on any of these, it turns on the corresponding transistor, which then allows your LEDs to light. Now, I only do 1 LED for each one of these, but you could have as many LEDs paralleled right here as you wanted to, which I think he's actually got three separate strings. But just tie all the grounds together and connect them to the collector of this transistor, and that's how this will work. Now let me show you how I built that. All right, so I went ahead and swapped out my work surface here. I realized that other piece of scrap wood that I was using was actually a tabletop that I owe Mrs. Flapp, so I figure I better not be messing that up. So I got this old piece of plywood here. I'm going to go ahead and tin my tip on my soldering iron just a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and just start putting some drops. If you guys haven't, if you're trying to solder without using flux, you're doing yourself a great disservice. So I got some big old globs on there. We're going to put a little solder on each one of these. All you need to do is just barely touch it on there. All right, so if I'm going to be making a fancy electronic gadget, I'm going to have some kind of box to put it in. I thought about ordering one of the plastic project boxes, but those are 2 or 3 days out, and I don't have that much time. So what I do have is this fancy chunk of construction grade 2x4, and I'm going to use my print and see CNC, and I'm going to make a project box out of this. So sparing no expense on this project right here for my buddy Feddie. Now, this is the best hold down method that I have found. Let me get you a zoom in on that. Masking tape, you can use blue painter's tape and some regular old Duro super glue. Any super glue you have will work. I find this is the cheapest. I'll buy packs of 4 or 5 of these for like 88 cents. At the Walmart. You can probably find them cheaper than that. I did price them out whenever I was buying these. It was cheaper than Harbor Freight, cheaper than even some of the big bottles that you can buy. But I just mount that couple pieces on your wasteboard. Couple of pieces on your workpiece. I let them run over the edges so I have something to grab a hold of whenever it's time to pull this off. Do that in about about that much super glue. And there's this little project box. A little sanding, a little cleaning. Get this done right. I just basically made a square and easel. I'll put that to my Linux CNC machine. So that's what we got. So I went ahead and did a test fit of all of our parts in our box. And this is what it looks like before I started finishing. So I did lose the video of finishing. I finished this with a Minwax Red Sidonia, I think it's called. I did use some 1/4 inch plywood and went ahead and made a lid for the box. You can see that. And all I'm doing here is I'm using the little finishing turntable that I made in one of my videos to spray on some of my favorite finish, and that is the Deft Clear Lacquer Spray. Love this stuff. Use it for just about everything. All right, so that's going to wrap up another project. I did talk with Feddie over at Got It Made, Bristol Artisan Co., Redneck DIY. However, you know him. I've been watching him since he did his Pole Barn series many years ago. That was a YouTube series that made him a household name. So I talked to him tonight, and we just kind of chatted about stuff. He's become a very good friend. I'd planned on making a trip up to his neck of the woods last year, and then of course COVID hit, and I guess it was 2 years ago now. COVID hit, and life kind of got in the way. I still plan on heading up there. I love that area. My family is actually from that area. My great-grandfather actually lived, when he passed, he lived in the same town that Fred does. So I have some connections in that part of the world, but I do need to apologize. I lost a little bit of video. I had a camera malfunction. I think there's enough. I think I'm going to be able to piece together enough of it that you can kind of figure out what went on. Probably lost a few minutes of me blabbing about nothing, kind of like I'm doing now. But let me go ahead and do a reveal. This is the finished project box. You can see that it's got his logo, my logo, and then this is just a push button, and that changes the sequence. Total of 5 wires. You got 2 for your power, and then 3 for the control, whatever you want to switch. Those 2N 2222 transistors, they can switch up to 800 to 1,000 milliamps, so almost an amp. So they're pretty good for about as many LEDs as you want to put on there. I wouldn't try to switch a motor or anything, any high load with those. But I made this project over Veterans Day, and I did that kind of as a gift to Fred, because he's a Gulf War veteran. I'm a Air Force veteran, served a little over 15 years. And all of the veterans out there watching, I truly want to thank you for your service, for your brotherhood. It was my honor to serve the people. But more importantly, I want to thank the American people, because none of us veterans did our service for ourselves. We did it for this country and the people. And I want to thank each and every one of you for making America worth serving for. So with that, I'm going to close this out. I do appreciate all the support that you all have given me. So there you go. Have a good one.